impact statement, take 2. I just tried to make a video and I was reading a rough draft, I realized. So I wanted to share. I just found out what an impact statement was yesterday by the VA on this case of the state against my abuser, and it's for a 3rd-degree felony strangulation and a battery on a household member. Today's hearing was the judge asking me if I agreed to the plea deal of him getting the felony waived or dropped, erased, I guess, and pleading guilty, though, to battery of a household member, doing 52 weeks of domestic violence counseling classes and 2 years of probation, with the first year being supervised. If he has 0 violations, the second year would be unsupervised. So today's hearing was that agreement on that plea bargain, and the judge then gives the victim in the case, an opportunity to speak and share what's called an impact statement. And it's something that, when I looked at some YouTubes yesterday doing some research, that normally could take weeks to prepare. And because I just learned what it is yesterday, I did the best I could to watch those YouTube videos that were helpful. And the gist of what I got from them is that an impact statement is my moment to explain the impact that this incident had on me and my family. Okay? So thanks for listening if you want to, and I hope it helps. If you know anybody that it would help, please feel free to share. I am going to protect the names and the privacy in it, so I will use different names. So this was exactly what I wrote, and I put it in big type, which I learned from one of the YouTube videos, and that really helped, because when I was reading it in the moment during the court hearing, I noticed my eyes filled up with tears, and it was really hard, challenging to read the screen, even in a much larger font with some spacing. So I was really grateful that I did do the larger font, because I was able to breathe through it and get focus on the words, because the font was larger. And I was trying to not pause too much, because I didn't want to waste and take up too much of everybody's time. And in getting to this final draft, I typed many versions, just pouring out, puking out everything, until I found my voice and what I could really truly connect to in this amount of time, on what I needed to say and get off my chest. And that's what it felt like after. I felt, after reading this to the judge, who was very kind, I remember her saying thank you to me for the courage it took me to write this. Okay, so now I'm just going to read it, and that'll be it. So the judge asked me if I agreed to the plea. I did say yes, and then she asked me if I had a impact statement to share? And I said yes. And then I began to read this. Good morning, Your Honor. Keep in mind I was crying at the time, and reading it now, I'm able to read it much calmer. So with more time, maybe I would practice reading it more. And I also think it's okay that it happened just the way it did. Okay, here we go. Good morning, Your Honor. Annyeonghaseyo, 여보세요. That is a Korean greeting. My name is Ju, daughter of and When I fled on June 10th, 2020, and stayed with my baby in the safe house, battered women's shelter for the first 2 months, I spent a lot of time talking with my family back home in for support. My amma, which is Korean for mom, my amma and I bonded. I think we all have some trauma in our lives, and depending on how much we've been through, the more we can understand. When I was in the shelter, my mom was very scared for me. She opened my understanding to how abuse is a cycle, because she shared for the first time with me that when I was my daughter's age, my mother fled my father after he tried to kill her. And she stayed at a battered women's shelter with me when I was the same age of our daughter. My mother still cries, and my family fears that, knowing everything Edward has done to me, that he will kill me one day still. And it's hard for me not to believe that when that's what Edward told me the night of June 9th, 2020, with our 7-month-old daughter laying next to me. In Asian Korean culture, as women, we are taught to be quiet and subservient to our husbands and to stay no matter what. This I cannot do. Edward has strangled me. He has threatened to kill me multiple times. He has broken my shoulder, and I have to have my second surgery on December 3rd, 2020. On the night of June 9th, 2020, the impact of throwing me to the ground several times caused bruises from my calf, up my legs, on my arms, all the way up to my neck on the front and on the back of my neck, and caused my untreated broken shoulder, which Edward did not let me get medical treatment for when he knew I could have died with my 7-month baby from the impact of internal bleeding when he shoved me, breaking it then. On June 9th, he caused significant swelling, exacerbating the untreated injury. I now have daily chronic pain as a result, and audible grinding and popping on the right side of my neck beneath where the bruise was, and painful grinding in my broken right shoulder, making it difficult to hold my daughter. By not fixing this injury now, I risk more damage because my right arm is not attached to bone, and my muscle is beginning to tear, which could lead me to an additional rotator cuff surgery in the future. My neck MRI shows cervical disc bulging and degenerative discs and damage to the tissue supporting my neck where Edward slammed me into the wall while dragging my throat and strangling me across the bed and pulling my hair while threatening to kill me. He said over and over, "I am going to kill you. I'm going to kill you." I counted 5 times. He said, "No matter what, I will one day." He said for the second time that he was going to bury me in the forest in Carson, and no one will care when I disappear. He threw me onto the ground several times and covered my mouth and nose on the ground, trying to suffocate me then too. He told me he didn't care about my sons and threatened to kidnap our daughter one day and disappear. Through this experience of being married to someone I thought I loved so much, I thought by forgiving him each time that he would fulfill his false promises and change. but the bruises came more frequently every few weeks towards the end. He later told me he was just pretending to be nice to me after, so I wouldn't call the cops. He said the cops would never believe me and that he would just say I was a hysterical stripper. Your Honor, even if I were worse, I still never ever deserved to be strangled, not once. In the first 7 months of Suri-san's life, she already witnessed her dad slam her mom's head into the bathroom wall when I was nursing, and she heard him call her mom a bitch and cunt too many times. Edward had many ways of strangling me. Once it was sitting on my back when I was barely 2 months pregnant with his first child while smothering my face in the dirt. He forced me to have that abortion. Other times, it was using an elbow hook from behind. I wouldn't even know it was coming. But his most common way was what he did on June 9th, squeezing my throat with one hand while pulling my hair with the other simultaneously. My sons are impacted. Having to know Edward tried to kill their mom. They are 12 and 10 and do not understand why he never went to jail. When he wrote their dad a letter 2 years ago, apologizing and promising he would never do it again to my sons then. I am trying to heal and see the red flags as I learn about domestic violence and being isolated, controlled, minimized, and the cycle I went through with Edward was only going to lead to my death. And I feel lucky to be alive and that he will never hurt me again. I must protect my children, Your Honors. Suri-san screams way louder than I ever could, and I cannot let anyone snap on her and cover her mouth, not once, the way he did to me so many times. I hope the surgery works this time. I forgive Edward, but I cannot forget, and I pray he becomes a better person for being a little bit accountable for once. Though I do wish he could be honest about strangling the mother of his baby, who is 1 year old today. I am grateful that she has not seen her mom being strangled for the last 5 months, and my sons see their mom working hard to heal and keep our family safe and protected now. And I thank you. I thank the officers, VAs, and DAs, and Your Honor, for all of your support through this difficult process. Strangulation is terrifying. I wake up in a terror still, hearing his words while he strangled me this last time. I have fear of even going for a walk around the block because of him. I ask Edward and the courts, what would you do if someone did this to your daughter? What would you tell your daughter to do? Thank you for hearing me, Your Honor.